start like a
Sure.
something like this. And we could just
Let me mute my phone because I don't
me too.
know how many times that ruins a podcast
Or videos.
or videos. Okay.
Are you gonna chop out this like weird
This awkwardness, yeah, I can get rid
this
of
like
that.
30 seconds of nothing going on?
Yes, ma'am. That's why this is the behind the scenes podcast. It's always going to be a 1 day delay for the audio.
Mm-hmm. I
Just make
see.
sure nothing's dramatically broken here. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, Shram keeps sending me funny stuff. Anyway. That's not even. What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here. Welcome back to the Super Speeders podcast. I have upgraded Glenn. Not that there's anything wrong with Glenn, but Tiara is going to be the new podcast host. You can check out the links to her social media in the description. And we're going to be doing these podcasts both video on the Super Speeders podcast YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that directly. And then the audio will go up every Wednesday. So the filming of these will take place usually within 24 hours of them going live. I've got this nifty little Zoom thing here, which is nice, which means we can podcast on the road. And when I'm on the road, you're usually on the road with me. So you've got both of us, and we can bang that out, no problem. So we'll have a consistent upload schedule every Wednesday. You'll be catching us on iTunes and the usual podcast channels. And sporadically on Tuesdays, Mondays, maybe Tuesdays, you can catch us here on the Super Speeders podcast channel and watch us film. So, Tiara, welcome aboard. This is your first podcast, and it's new and fun. So
It is, yeah. And we've been kind of like building up to this, introducing me like through Instagram lives, YouTube
Sure.
lives. So my first podcast, super excited to be on it. Thank you so much, Rob, for having me. And I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna make
thank
a
you for
lot.
having me. You're the co-host.
Thank
I'm not having
you, like,
you're-
for having me as a co-host.
Okay.
That's like a big thing.
Is it? It's.
I don't know.
I mean, otherwise I'm just talking by myself, which I do every Friday.
I know,
so.
but I feel like I don't know.
So, well, welcome. So, a little
Thank
bit of
you.
background about Tiara. She's her name is pronounced Tiara.
Yeah, Tiara. Please
Not-
don't listen to Rob when he says Tiara. He says it all wrong.
It's
all
only
the
been a
time.
couple of years that I've been pronouncing her name incorrectly. and
Awful.
Mentally, when you tell me that, I can't pronounce it correctly ever. So, but she's. I guess I would. Do I say you're a car girl? Because it's such a weird connotation to be a car girl.
I know. I don't know. I mean, I know. I
You like
definitely.
cars. You
I
like
love cars. I know about cars. I can work on cars, but I'm not like
Car girl.
car.
Head
girl.
girl. I don't know.
Does anyone know what this means?
So Tiara's been. She actually works for Adventure Drives. So if you guys want to go on a trip for Adventure Drives, guess who you get to talk to? Not me.
Definitely
and,
get to talk
and
to
you know
me.
what? The sad thing is, half of them rather talk to me than you. But
I know that's
you get-
terrible.
You get her instead of me.
We'll switch them over.
But when you come on the trip, you get to hang out.
Yeah.
If that sounds appealing at all, which some people enjoy it, other people are like, why is this guy here?
It's pretty fun.
I'm pretty fun.
Pretty
Yeah, I'm
fun.
really
Funny. Yeah.
So she does that. She was also the PA, the production assistant on Sorted. Now, I don't know. You guys are like, first off, where are we, right? We are in my new house, my new domicile. And you may remember the last time we even had a podcast, many, many years ago, it was the old house. And the old house has since been demolished and ripped out. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can watch that series take place of me knocking down the old house and then putting up this what turned out to be a pretty lovely place. So you'll see that progress. You'll see how that works out. And this is now the new home for the podcast. Because we've got this lovely Whistle Pig barrel below us. What's Whistle Pig? Well, that's an excellent question you guys asked. Whistle Pig is that top row and then the bottom row there. They are a whiskey distiller up in Shoreham, Vermont. And they make and dominate the high-end U.S. whiskey market. And when I say that, they're running about 70% market share on the plus $100 bottle of whiskey. So if there's an expensive whiskey out there, it's a good chance 7 out of 10 people are picking up Whistle Pig. And the good thing is, we like whiskey. So it now just happens to be midday right now, so we're not going to be throwing back whiskey. But I wanted to get this one
No 3 o'clock whiskey.
filmed now. I mean, not that it's unheard of. we're gonna get this one filmed now, so you guys can at least get the podcast started. We'll probably clean it up a little bit along the way. Probably go live so people can actually hear the different. What am I looking for?
What, like,
I'm
we'll clean up the podcast as like from where
the
we're starting
differences.
to.
Yeah, I mean, we'll clean up the format
Yeah.
a little bit.
We're just starting out.
I mean, I can't claim to be starting.
Well,
out.
I'm starting out, so I'm not necessarily the most well-rounded person on podcasts here, but
But you've never been on a podcast, have you?
never. No,
Well, now-
I've
now
done your
you're
lives,
co-hosting
which
one,
was
yeah.
like pretty close, but
No, the lives are really like answering a bunch of silly questions by people while I.
it was an icebreaker for me. Okay, let's put it that way.
So Whistle Pig is going to be. I mean, I'm going to say they're a sponsor. We're on their barrel and we drink their whiskey, so they're a sponsor of the podcast. If anyone wants to sponsor the podcast, be sure to reach out. It's happy to have whatever. I mean, these things usually get like 20,000 listeners, or they did when I was doing it. So you pick up 20,000 listeners. You might hear how I want to hear. This is a little.
We're working out the bugs.
Little testing some
New device. Is
All
it
right.
working?
Yeah, you know what?
Was it not the entire time?
It was the zero audio.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Welcome to.
Wow.
Ready? Now I don't have to listen anymore.
Oh my
Ready for this?
god.
Ready for this? Ryan, come on. Walk. Come to the camera.
Hello.
Hi. That's Ryan.
Hello.
Podcast mascot.
Mascot.
All right. Ready? This is why.
This is not working.
No, it's working. It's now totally working.
But could they hear us the entire time?
I didn't have my headphones on, so it's very important to have headphones on when you're doing a podcast. They can hear us because it's just playing for the computer.
Oh, good.
But you ready? You ready to see how production works?
Okay, we're starting.
What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here. Welcome to the Super Speeders podcast, and this is take two, which most people aren't aware of. But we just crushed about 6 minutes of me talking to a dead microphone, so I didn't put my. No, it was not.
It was 7 minutes.
Because I didn't have my headphones in here. So who am I? Well, I'm Rob Ferretti, and this is my podcast. And it's not just my podcast because I share it with her. Her name is Tiara.
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 He's gonna get it right one day. My name is Tiara. Let me just
Tiara.
clear that. Tiara,
Tiara.
not Tiara.
Not tiara.
This is Ryan. Ryan's my
Hello.
son. Hi. I'll explain to you guys what's going on here. So the
Again.
format, yes, this is if you're watching the live, it doesn't get edited, but the actual show will get edited. So how it works is the podcast is going to be recorded usually a day or two prior to the actual publication of it. It will be published every Wednesday at, let's just say 8 o'clock. I'll schedule 8 p.m. That gives us time even to record it prior to that. So if we want to record it anytime on Wednesday, maybe whatever time, it's going to be the same time every day. Maybe be 10 o'clock, just so we can sort of upload it at the same time. Because consistency is good. Podcasts are
Working
great.
on that.
Yeah, I'm working on that. The podcasts are great. Well, one of the things I'm done working on now, or almost, is the house, which now frees up a lot of time. Now, those of you that are used to my podcast or have listened to my podcast, hey, thank you for sticking around for, I don't know, 4 years. But the podcasts are on, they're audio. So you're going to catch them on iTunes, Shout Engine, wherever else it's going to end up going in the podcast here. The funny thing is we tried to do this last week. We didn't even have the right equipment because technology's come such a long way. The other good thing is it's going to be incredibly easier, much easier for us to podcast because if we are going to podcast, we can just bring this stuff now. I had adapters. There was just such a hot mess of equipment that I had for the old podcast that technology, obviously people are embraced podcasts a lot more. Technology's come a long way and we can sort of bring this to you with much more ease. So I'm happy to announce that we're back every Wednesday. We'll bring you a podcast. And Tiara, who is, and I got that right.
Yeah, that's
The brain is turning there. Tiara, who we're about to introduce, is going to be the co-host. Now we will welcome, obviously with COVID and God knows what else is going on, we will welcome some guests remotely, and we will also welcome some guests in, I'm going to call it a studio. It's not a studio, it's my whiskey lair. Whiskey lounge. Whiskey lounge.
Lounge layer sounds a little scary.
Yeah, okay. So it's either, or tasting room's not bad either.
Tasting room's good.
It's not a wine cellar. There's wine in here, but I don't like wine, so I'm just not digging it yet. I feel like that's stuffy old white person.
The
stuff.
whiskey lounge sounds like a hangout.
Yeah, whiskey,
And that's what
and
it is. It's an entertainment center.
So a little background about Tiara. Now she is a South Jersey, but she's from Philadelphia practically, and she is a car girl. And I say that with like just a bit of hesitation because car girl comes with like a weird connotation. Like I like the shiny one, but she knows cars. She works on cars. She also works for Adventure Drive, so she does sales for Adventure Drive. So if you're interested in coming on a trip, that's who you're going to be talking to, not me. Sorry to tell you.
Even though everyone loves to speak to you.
Some people would, and I talk through the website live chat occasionally. So the good news is, once you book your trip through her, on the trip, if you are so inclined to come on the trip because of me, you get to drive with me and hang out with me. So
You're pretty fun.
I'm pretty fun.
Pretty funny guy.
So,
Good to hang out
funny
with.
sometimes, and you guys can come hang out with me and come on the trip. She's on the trip as well. So whoever you're here for, guess what? We do fun trips,
Yeah.
and she sells it. So if you're looking to come on Adventure Drives, we've got 3 trips scheduled this year. I'm going to do the sales work for her just so she can sit back and relax. Because this is
First
her
podcast, breeze.
Let her breathe.
Yeah.
Let her breathe a little bit. But we're doing a trip DC to Nashville, to Tail of the Dragon, the Smoky Mountains, the Greenbrier,
Moonshine tasting.
moonshine. Yeah, moonshine's the first thing that comes to my mind too. Moonshine to music in Nashville. This is going to be April 28th to May 3rd. It's a Wednesday to Sunday, starting at the Mandarin Oriental in Washington, D.C. So that's going to be a good trip. In the summer, COVID permitting, which I think we should be all right, we're going to be going to France and Spain. That's Barcelona, Paris, Saint-Tropez, San Sebastian. So like a lot of cool, we'll go to Le Mans. So there's going to be a lot of
That's
cool
gonna be
stuff.
That's a longer trip too.
It is. That is. It's a longer trip and a more expensive trip. So the DC to Nashville is going to be your easiest trip to afford because the trips aren't cheap, but they're spectacular. The value is totally there.
It's worth every penny.
It's
the best trip. I took my father on the last one back in July, and that was a spectacular trip. A little bit longer one.
Yes, that was a
but-
full size trip.
yeah.
So we have the full size trips or the shorter trips.
Yeah, and that was it was.
That's
amazing.
usually 7 nights, 8 days,
Yeah.
which is a legitimate trip.
Mhm.
So I mean, it was a great time though, and it doesn't feel very long because it is jam packed with awesomeness.
It just flies by. Yeah.
And if you're in that what's called rally space, then the trips are going to seem like a bargain because you go on a rally, half the stuff is included, and you're charging $15,000-$20,000 for a week. We're less than that. Our European trips are about $13,500 for 2 people, including food, alcohol, activities. Everything is all
Hotels.
included. So you don't have to really dip into your pocket unless you're at a gas pump filling up, and that's pretty convenient. So there is a lot of value there. The shorter trips, the weekend trips we've done, and we've got the 3 weekend trips in the schedule right now. We've got the DC to Nashville in the spring. We've got the summer trip, which is the fall trip. Then in the fall, we're going to Scotland. You may have seen that as the lead out on most of my videos for the past year. That's been pushed off now twice. It was supposed to be last October, then we pushed it to the spring. Now we flip-flopped it from spring back to this October. So you're looking at that trip is going to be taking place in October again. I think it's the 22nd. Does that sound
I
about
think
right?
it's the 20th or 25th
Or
or
early
26th.
20s,
It's around there.
And that's going to be a Scotland trip. That one's also reasonable, same price. The shorter trips are always about $5,500 for the 2 people. I think the Scotland trip is $6,500. And then after that, in the winter next year, we're going back to Iceland. Iceland is a great trip, not so much focused on sports cars and driving, but some off-roading, hiking, waterfalls, northern lights. It's just Iceland's awesome. So it's a great break for the winter. So
Now, can you catch the northern lights every time you go there?
generally, if they tell you to be there at least 4 days.
Really? And you would likely see them.
To give yourself a good opportunity to see the northern lights, it's about 4 days to be there. You could go and see them in your first night. You could see them when you're landing in the airport. So it's the thing when you land. It's generally from the U.S. You're doing that, or at least from New York. You're doing a flight that lands at like 6 a.m. So it's an interesting trip to Iceland because you're landing at 6 and you end up staying awake all day. So you're pretty exhausted day one, but it beats everybody. But we do that. We accommodate everybody. The first day we went, the way we do the scheduling is that we want everyone to see the Northern Lights. So like, we're going to go out every night until you see the Northern Lights. And the first day we go, we're at dinner, everyone's tired, and we go, the lights used to get the
There's like a notification of the lights.
on the phone, there's apps and everything like that, so you can watch the geothermal activity, not the geothermal, the solar activity.
Yeah.
Because it's all like the sun giving like cool waves. But that ended up being something where we're like, all right, everybody, we're gonna leave dinner and we're gonna go check out the Northern Lights. And we went to the Kerrid Crater, which is on the Golden Circle, and that was very cool. So we're standing on the crater, the edge of a crater, taking pictures of the Northern Lights. So
Can you capture it like on? Say if I took a picture of my phone.
you can take it on your the new phones can do it. The older
Okay.
phones.
I thought it had to be like a long exposure shot.
No, the new phones are better at picking it up. And like it depends. Like sometimes you need a nice long exposure shot, you can get a great shot. Sometimes you can take it on your phone. Sometimes you can just sort of take it automatically. So it really depends on the level of activity. The activity level goes up to a scale of 5. So I think last time we were there was like a 2.5, and we had great photos and everything like that.
Wow.
But it wasn't like wow, it wasn't that
Not
like,
like
super
that.
impactful. But we got the photos that everybody goes for. But if you go during like a solar storm or something like that, the entire sky is dancing. And there's times that
That's awesome.
the lights jump down. You'll usually see them like Alaska, northern Canada, Norway, Sweden, and then even Iceland, obviously, and Greenland. But then sometimes they come down as low as like, oh, the Northern Lights may be visible. Never from like New York because of the light
I think
pollution.
from New York. A
New
couple
York
years
State,
ago,
yeah,
there
Vermont, yeah, you can generally see them.
Yeah.
So that's very cool.
I guess that
But
happened.
either way, we do some really cool trips, and she's self. So if you're interested in coming, she's going to be the person to talk to, and then you can come on a trip and hang out with both of us. And you don't know her yet, but she's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you
So-
guys can shoot me an email, tiara@adventuredrives.com if you want to chat about the trips and can answer any questions or help you.
Yeah.
So,
So also, she is, I don't know if you guys have kept up, I feel like we've jumped a long way. If you've kept up with the series that I did, Sorted. Sorted is a show that I do with Matt Farah, Tanner Faust, and Amelia Hartford. I have no particular order on those names. And she was the production assistant, so she managed all the logistics. The premise of the show is we take people's cars that are modified and we effectively see how well built they are and we race them against each other. And that's a lot of fun. And the thing that we generally learn is that as well as you think you built your car, there's probably going to be a failure on most cars. Like most of the cars had, I think, significant failures. Not as far as like the cars had to be towed out of there, but that they just couldn't hang in the competition the entire time, especially when we toss the keys over to Tanner and he starts hot lapping around the racetrack. These cars start falling apart in short form. And it didn't have anything to do with the cost of the cars. We had cars ranging from $20,000 builds up to $300,000 builds. And the thing that we generally learn is that the baseline cars that we use, like the 01 and the
spend the money.
GT500, can sort of lap the track all day and put down respectable times. And the tuner cars, the ones that we fidget with and modify to make better, we actually end up making worse. We do make them go faster for short bursts, highway driving, and
Think you
making
can speak
impressive
to that?
dyno numbers. Yeah, but when you start playing around, things generally go wrong. And I'm a perfect example of exactly what goes wrong. I'm going to the racetrack. Let me just change this and this and this.
And you're exactly the person that you
I'm
told
exactly the
everybody
person.
not to be.
But like I
You
wasn't
said, don't be
changing.
this guy, but I'm going to send my car to East Coast
I
Supercharged,
sent it down East Coast
and we're going to
Supercharged.
do A, B, and C.
Well, you know, I've got, so my car, I wasn't changing anything about the setup. I was just removing stuff. And
Like
when I
changing
removed,
switches.
yeah, I removed the factory
Wire-
ECUs,
your
which we weren't
wiring.
running through, but the BCM, the body control module for the blinkers, the
Mhm.
taillights and everything like that. They ended up rewiring switches. And one of the leads to the traction control switch that I have runs off the wheel speed sensor. And I guess it was at some point in time during this full like 40+ hour wiring job. The car looks great, but the wiring
Oh,
is super
it's
clean.
clean, yeah, it looks great.
And when they were tearing it down, I guess that switch didn't get connected or something happened. And the wheel speed sensor is very important for my car because that's what it's measured. It's producing boost based off of wheel speed because it's boost by gear. It's also producing. It had a two-step, and when I brought my car down to the track, I kept bumping the two-step because it didn't have a wheel speed sensor, so it thought I was stopped at all times. I also didn't have a speedometer. Not that on a racetrack you need a speedometer, but I know I'm 155 miles an hour at the top of fourth gear. So as long as I know I'm top of fourth gear, I've got to know.
But did you even make it to fourth gear?
Yeah, no,
That's right.
we went through fourth gear.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did 61 fit my co-pilot with the track here. If you want to check out that video.
No, that video was not. I had no idea you were recording.
The two
So I
cameras
was-
blinking in your face all the time.
Listen, and I was dealing with the Lamborghini, and I was like waiting for a phone call, and I was a little bit all over the place at that point in time.
It was a good time. Yeah, she's really good at the logistics. So that's what we use her for. She's actually going to work another rally down in Miami in the next week or two.
Mhm.
So I'm sure she can fill us in on that one. It's a little bit of a weird one, like where we do road trips. What does that cost? That trip?
That one, that's about $2,000 a car.
$2,000 a car for 2 days of driving from Miami to Orlando and back.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna do like go
Iceland
karts,
is so
pool
much
party, stuff like that.
Yeah, go-karts, pool party, like chest pumping. Like
Stop.
I'm just saying, for $2,000. I mean, I wouldn't pay $2,000 to go like Miami to Orlando and back.
I know.
like for go-karts.
You would for
Ryan would
go-karts?
do it for
Ryan,
go-karts.
we got the peanut gallery here. We actually have an audience, a live audience with my son Ryan. If you watch on the YouTube channel, the Super Speeders Podcast YouTube channel, which is always going to be filming a day prior to the podcast going live, you can actually see Ryan on camera.
Now we can say we have a film in front of a
Yeah,
live
filming in front of a
studio.
live studio audience. So, but yeah, what else? You tell us a little bit about your car background. I talk a lot, so it is my podcast, but it's
I
also
know.
your podcast now. So I will toss the mic to you to tell, and I will ask you some questions that everybody would ask you.
Sure. Can we start with that? I'm not a.
Yeah,
I
let's.
don't know.
All right, let's start. Since it's primarily a male audience, are you single?
I am single.
Okay, we got that out of the way.
Yeah, because the comments are blowing up right now.
I mean, there's only 1,000 subscribers on the channel, and we don't announce anything, and I haven't put up a video. So the fact that anyone's on here,
Yeah, there's seven loyal
yeah,
people
the
right now.
fact that 7 people are even tuning in right now in the middle of the day to
Yeah.
watch us record this is awesome. If I went on my Instagram thing, we get a couple hundred people asking questions.
Mhm.
But I think the way we'll do the format is we'll open it up in the last 15 minutes for actual questions from people.
Okay.
And this way we can sort of address everything people want to say. What do you want to say, Ryan?
If Dad wants, if you guys want to see Dad do more of this, make sure to go to his channel, Super Speeders, and subscribe and like. Try and go for 200 subscribers at the end of the day.
200 subscribers at the end of the day. Who are you? You watch too much YouTube. Go sit back in your studio audience chair. So tell me about, I know you have a history in cars. You were actually a customer of Adventure Drives before an employee of Adventure Drives.
I know.
How was that trip? You brought your dad on the trip.
Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
took my dad on that trip back in July. It was the Northwest trip going from Seattle to Jackson Hole. Honestly, hands down the best trip. My dad talks about it every time I see him. He's like, "Oh my gosh, like Adventure
that
Drives,
trip?
Adventure Drives this, Adventure Drives." Like he's great. He's so happy about it. Definitely a good gift to him. It fell right on his birthday, so I thought it was perfect. Everything that we did, and everything was very seamless. So honestly, huge shout out to your staff. Just everybody that we work with is on top of it, and just it felt good to be like part of that because I've done rallies and I've come from that hectic, crazy car world of everybody just driving like maniacs and going here, going there, doing this, like just trying to show off. But this was much more laid back. Definitely a big focus on people, food, drinks, experience.
Yeah.
Not so much what I have and what you don't have. Or what
Yeah,
you
no,
have.
it's
So-
very cool. It's a good
It's
group
good.
of people. What I like about the Adventure Drives customers are they're all pretty the same in that they're all low key. You
Yeah,
don't really have
everybody's
the guys out there, and we don't look to attract them. But we wouldn't turn that guy away. Just we wouldn't really fit in if you start dressing up like a chicken every day.
Chicken.
That's what people do. They come in costumes like Captain Insano. And
I-
like, look at me. Like, I'm gonna wrap my car. We don't do stickers on the cars. There's no decals. We're just a bunch of guys with nice cars. And that works so much better than decaling up the cars and racing down the highway, because the police are nowhere near you. They don't
Oh,
care
the police
anymore.
flock groups like
And groups like that, everybody's looking at, oh, look up on the thing. Okay, where are they going? And it just becomes
that. It becomes obvious that you're together too, especially if you have a huge group
yeah,
of
and
cars
it's,
like
it's
that.
a different dynamic when you've got that. Like everybody's sort of racing along. You end up seeing a lot of like believe it or not, you'll drive quick for a minute, but then when all the cops are driving even slower than if you would have just driven quick without all the
Yeah.
stickers and the drug passing on the shoulder. So I would venture to say that our trips would probably get from point A to point B quicker than any of these rallies.
Yeah, I mean, we were going along just fine.
Yeah, no, we were definitely driving along.
one pullover, I think.
One pullover,
But
and
no,
that
issues.
was we deserved that. I mean, we were going quicker.
you guys got its scorns, but
So-
nothing.
Yeah, no, and that was just a conversation. That's what it tends to be generally.
Yeah.
But the issues you have, like we were driving quick in the state of Montana, and like we're on like B roads, not A highways, like the B roads. So like county roads, and it's great. You come over crests, we're flying pretty good. Let's just say the speed limit's
It's probably 50.
40 to 50. And it's always usually like, oh, wow, the speed limit's much faster than I thought it would be. It's sort of akin to what somebody would
Yeah.
drive without restricting them. And it's like, all right, nobody's going to go over this speed here, so just knock yourself out. And we were coming over, and we passed a cop going in the opposite direction. We were going like probably double that speed. And so we're like, you know what, let's just go. Like if you had to turn around, you'd have to do a 3-point turn, like all that sort of stuff. So there was like 6 of us, and we just sort of bounced out, and not to like be like, I see him coming, let's get out of here. There was no police chase. I promise you, there was no like he may not, probably didn't even turn around. Again, there's no
Pretty
stickers
different
on the cars. We're all moving at the same speed, so although we could definitely tell we were going fast, the fact that the relativities were all moving at the same speed, it may have been more difficult for them to differentiate.
It makes you
how
look
fast
slower
we're going.
too.
Yeah, it
Like
does,
yeah,
'cause-
when everybody's going like with the flow of traffic, and it just happened that you guys were the
Yeah.
traffic.
So then we got on the highway, one of the A roads, to go over to like Jackson Hole. No, we were going Big Sky. Montana.
Yeah.
And that's when we just kept that accelerated pace onto the highway, and we ended up going like for no reason, just like we were just like, all right, let's just drive faster. Now we weren't cutting people off. We were just driving quick because we were out there, nothing going
But
on.
there's nothing there.
So a couple of people called, and that's the problem with the A roads. A, you're gonna have better cell phone reception on the main roads, and then B, there is traffic. We did not do anything to cause alarm or to cause anyone to call the cops, but we held a good pace for a while. And then pulling right up to our exit, literally the pull off right before our exit, there was a cop there. Pulled behind us, pulled us all over, and just saying things. And by the time we were coming up to our exit, we were doing the speed limit anyways. Like, pulled us over, and he's like, yeah, I didn't see you doing anything, not really a big deal. And he just he kept us for an hour, though. That's the problem with the pullovers. And we did our thing. And he just did he even give us written warning?
He didn't write you guys anything.
Yeah.
But he ended up getting distracted because the accident that happened across the street.
No, but he
Right?
did give us written warning.
Oh,
I
did
remember
he?
we all had to
I
go back to the
don't- I
car
don't
and
think I
answer the
did.
info. But he gave us a little speech, gathered his thoughts as to what was going on, went to everybody, and this is the thing that you have to remember. When a cop comes up to you and asks you, like, what were you doing? That's, you shut the F up. That's what you said. You say, I was doing nothing.
What was it, Kylie?
Kylie was in
Kylie's
my
like, we're doing
car.
120.
I'm like, thank God. I'm like, Kylie, what would you say if the guy asked you what we were doing, how fast we were going? And she's like, the truth. No, like, you do not have to volunteer information. What? We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Oh, jeez. Why does this happen?
What is happening? No, Tiara, it's on you. On the mic. No, Ryan, you can't talk.
All right, so while we fix that, I'm just working through the bugs here with this podcast. I mean, this is totally new device here for Rob, so he's gonna fix the batteries now because it looks like it died. Let's see. I hope the mic's working now. I just saw this question. It's a good first run to the podcast. Somebody's falling downstairs. These freshly stained stairs. Did you just fall?
What's that?
Did you fall?
Yeah.
Oh, it sounded like somebody took a header down the stairs.
No. Do you have that plug, that little white one?
What do you mean?
The little plug for your phone.
Oh, yeah, take that. There's an extension cord here if you want to run
Yep,
it.
that's what I'll do. I've already got it. Okay.
This, but it's not plugged in anything.
Absurdity of this stuff.
This is crazy.
This is
I
the-
think we're not meant to podcast.
No, this battery came with this thing.
Here. Go back to this. It's a sign. The universe is trying to stop us.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Thoughts on the 992 GT3? I didn't see that. That just went live today. Don't think the mic's working. Favorite whiskey? I spy Green Label in the background. Green Label?
Green.
No.
Where?
Hey, Rob. Great leader. Look,
It's blue.
There's Blue Label. There's. He's looking at the Blue Label.
It looks green in the.
Doesn't. Should not look green.
Looks
Sure.
pink. Wow, this is
Like,
good.
no, we're gonna jump.
Do you think that saves?
Sure.
I mean, our luck. I think it did.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
All right. So we're back after that brief commercial break, which was this Zoom P4, which is the PodTrack. It's the podcast recorder I have. Just bought it yesterday, right? And it comes with 2 batteries. And inside, let's just say an hour, the thing's dead.
It wasn't. It was less than that.
No, I mean, I
Or
was
were you
probably
testing it?
playing with it for an hour, but it says it
Oh.
should go up to 4 hours. And I saw it on 1 bar. I'm like, oh, that 1 bar must be good for an hour. And it was good for like 20 minutes. So I'm going to always keep this thing in hardwired from now on. But since this is my first podcast of 2021, I guess we'll have a little bit of latitude. And whatever I was talking about in the conversation right there, sorry, you missed it. And we'll pick it up from there. So
Yeah, I
I
don't even know what you're talking about.
I didn't even know when it cut out. It couldn't have been more than a couple of minutes.
Oh,
But,
yeah, we'll figure that out later.
yeah, but welcome back.
We're working through the bugs.
Working through the bugs. Everything sounds good. I see the audio levels here seem to be good. Your audio level seems to be good.
Okay.
And yeah, so we were talking about rallies. We're talking about, we were talking about the pullover in Montana.
Oh yes.
So
Yeah.
if you guys are not familiar with the state of Montana, it's a great state to drive. Long story short, we got pulled over. It wasn't a big deal. And life is good.
Yeah.
So, but it did slow us down, and that's why I like to do trips that we don't get pulled over on, and you get to drive fast because pulling over slows everything down.
Yeah, because you guys were on the road for an hour.
And we ended up, we decided to work for an hour. We ended up going straight to dinner versus turning around or we went
Like
straight to
stopping
dinner
at a
versus going to the
hotel.
hotel and
Relax.
feeling it out for a little bit and sort of catching the sunset. We ended up going straight to dinner because to go up and back to the hotel would have made us late to dinner. So we were early to dinner by 20 minutes instead of like being a half hour late going to the room for no reason.
Mhm.
So I don't like that, but that hour would have been a big deal. That hour would have been like 35, 45 minutes at the hotel,
Yeah, you could
shower, get changed, whatever we want to do before we go over. So yeah, so that's adventure drives. That's the pullover. So, what's that? Whatever. Didn't say error.
I did. I just thought.
Is it error?
Yeah, it's something error. Mm. Okay.
No, I'm good with that. We're gonna see how this works. We're gonna see how this plays out. We're gonna post it, and people are going to enjoy it. And the good thing about the audience is that they're really good at feedback.
Yeah, so
So-
we're gonna get chewed up.
So then they're gonna be like, "I'll tell you what," and they'll say the audio levels are off or this or that.
Yeah.
This is usually the last time I was podcasting. I had Jimbo, who was updating everybody and keeping like this whole
We
mountain of black magic wires and converters and everything like that was all part of the previous podcast, which we're not going to have on this one. So this one is just going to be her, me, maybe a calling guest, maybe a guest here, some whistle pig, which is terrific, and we'll talk about whistle pig in a second, and then the new house. So as I was saying, the previous house was the one we podcasted in prior to taking it down. Obviously,
the one that was standing
the
here.
one that was in this very space.
So wait, I don't think I'm familiar. Did you live in this house that was here?
I never lived in the house.
You just used it as a podcast studio.
Yeah, it was like I set up because Jimbo would live there because he was from
Yeah,
Maryland.
podcast studios, that's a place to store all our stuff.
Yeah, excuse me, audience, we didn't open you up for questions yet. So,
I couldn't be like that.
Ryan
Yes.
there. It's my son Ryan in the background. But the old house we would set up a table, like I'd work from there occasionally. And then I had the podcast, which from there I had a nice big podcast table, which is now sitting in the studio in the warehouse. I've got that big table there. That's where I use the one.
The one with all the
now.
stuff
Yep.
on it
Yeah, that one.
that you can't really use as a desk.
Yes, everything gets
Stuff.
piled up in the it's a path of least resistance thing. So that ended up becoming a desk.
Mhm.
So, or a table of junk.
That's a good like podcast
It's a
table.
great podcast table, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but now, I mean,
this is
barrel
better.
is much better.
This is a big barrel.
And little did you know, we're in the same house that you may have remembered from the previous podcast. It's just a little bit nicer now. So when you take money and throw it at something, it generally looks better than when you started. Generally, not always.
Yeah, usually, yes.
No, there's some celebrities that
Oh.
prove that wrong. But at the end of the day, the house is going to be awesome. There's a chat on my main Super Speeders channel on YouTube. I'm doing the build series, so you can watch me tear down the old house and put up a really nice new house. That episode of the house demo is going to go up today, so you can check that out. But yeah, it's lovely, and by the time this is all done and you watch this process, I think you're going to be impressed. I like to impress, and I GC the process myself, and the most adamant people against that are generally general contractors, because by GCing it yourself, you're proving that they're pretty worthless.
They're not entirely. Well,
They're not worthless.
were
But
much more involved in this process than most people would be.
well, you have to be.
Obviously, you wanted to GC it, but like you did your research and you were like more hands-on. Somebody who wants to build a home but step away from that process is going to hire a GC.
And that costs a lot of money. The thing about
Yes.
houses, and
But time is money too. So
it is, but the amount of money that I'm saving is more than I make every year.
Oh.
So think about that. The many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars that I would have had to spend to have somebody else do this. And then even then, when you're sort of hands off, there may have been a bunch of changes where I said, look, I don't like the way this is coming out. That's
Yeah.
what you want to do. We got to make it nicer. But to get everything this way was not cheap.
well, yeah, you truly built like your home because you're here saying like, oh no, this doesn't look right.
Yep.
Change it, do that instead.
The entire process. I was always, even with the architect at first, oh no, you don't want to do that. You want to have, like, that doesn't resell well. Sure, it resells well. This is what I want my room to be.
Yeah.
This is, well, I don't want a door on the bathroom. I don't need a door on
That's,
my
yeah, everybody has their own opinion,
Or
their own
like-
style, right?
Yeah,
And-
we need more bedrooms. We should do do more rooms, but fewer and more, like smaller rooms, but more rooms. What's up, Ryan?
Wow.
Are you just trying to sneak in the shot there?
No.
No.
That's your kid.
That's my son. He's digging. Come
Right
on.
here.
Why didn't
Hi.
you make him the co-host? I don't understand.
Co-host. He is the
He
co-host.
wants to be
He's
the
like the
co-host.
phantom co-host.
Come on, like, give him a mic.
Phantom of the podcast. But yeah, so like I was at sort of not at odds, but like because it's your show, right? Like it's when I'm building the house, this is what I want.
Yeah.
All right, how about get back in your chair? The fact that I'm here GCing it and everything like that is the quotes that I got, and this is why I want to prove to people that it's very possible to GC your own property. Is it's not really difficult. And if there's a GC that's here working and you're hiring him as a tradesman, like there's guys that do that. They do the woodworking,
Yeah,
they do everything.
they're there.
You can sort of combine that value and be like, all right, if you're gonna do the woodworking, I don't have to hire a cabinet guy. You're gonna build the cabinets. What did I say about silencing that phone?
What did you go? Do you go upstairs and sound?
No, I have no idea. You're gonna like you're saving money in the woodworking. The guy's painting himself. Like there's a wrap up of stuff that he's doing cheaper because
Yeah, but if it's just that one guy telling everybody else what to do,
exactly. If
then
you got a guy
you
who's
could be
doing
that guy.
nothing but hiring subcontractors, which are most of these guys, then that's not really valuable to me. That if I'm paying somebody $300,000 a year, $400,000 a year to pull off to find contractors for me, I'll do that.
Yeah,
And-
source them and
Yeah, a lot of people tend to overlook that value because they're just, oh, I got approved for a loan.
Mhm.
Just because you got approved for a loan doesn't mean you should spend the money.
yeah,
And that's
you
a
still have
big
to
thing.
pay it back. You just
Well, and not only that, with a mortgage, you're paying it back over 30 years. So
Yeah.
that extra $400,000, I'm paying back an extra $900,000 at the end of 30 years. I take that same delta, that same $400,000, and invest it. At the end of 30 years, it's $3 million in cash.
yeah,
So
I mean-
think about that. Think about the two things to hire somebody versus a year of me doing it myself. It's totally worth it. And I think the house, all these general contractors, like, oh, you're going to fail miserably, this and that. And I'll tell you what, it took me probably 4 months
call them
longer. What?
you call them back and come and say, come take a look.
Let me check that out. These general contractors are like they want to tell you that it's not going to work and you're not going to know what you're doing and things are going to fall apart. You're hiring professionals. I can hire professionals. I'll tell you what I learned. I'll tell you that the pricing is all over the place. It's fictional, right? Like the people just make shit up. And like going to Angie's List or something like that, go to Angie's List and put in a job, like make something up. And these people, when they get back to you, they're going to throw such outrageous numbers. And the numbers are going to be all over the map as to what it should cost versus what people are actually quoted for this stuff. And even at the beginning for my foundation, like I almost overspent by like $20,000 on my foundation, just because all the numbers initially were so high. You want to get at least 3 bids. I got like 5 bids. One guy from my foundation came in at $240,000, and I was like, "What am I missing here, guy?" Because like everybody else is coming in at like 8, and you're at
Yeah,
you're
why
at
is
240. What's the deal? And then the guy's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, my dad did that. I could do it for 120." I'm like, "Wait, you just took off $120,000 with one email. I am never using you for anything.
Yeah.
Like that means you're either screwing me before. You're still 50% more than everyone else is quoted." So then through the connections I have in the industry, I started talking to a guy and he's like, "Oh, try this guy." I reached out and he came in at 55,000. I'm like, "You know what? Good enough for me."
That's a bargain.
And
Good deal.
like sure enough, after now I was getting the site work guy and then the foundation contractor as well, the mason. And I ended up going through the site work guy, who's those guys are great, Wiggers Construction, and they're like, "Oh, my brother Clayton's building a house. You can try these." This guy just did his place. He gave me a name, and the guy came back at 40,000. I'm like, even better.
Yeah.
It's half of like I almost jumped at the 55,000.
Yeah.
And I ended up
40,000
paying
took it all day long.
40,000. And now, even looking at the process, I honestly think I could have been done for like low 30s. So
The
I still think because I ended up paying 43 because like, oh, I didn't include these things. That's going to be another $3,000, so whatever. So it was 43 grand. I think I probably could have done it for 33 or 35. But like as
You
I
just
said,
kept like shopping around.
I went into this not even shopping around, but like just knowing better.
Mhm.
I went into this, and these guys are still making money. Don't pretend like I'm taking money out of somebody's pocket. I'm just doing it for what it should
There's
cost.
markup on everything.
Tremendous markup. But the way you have to look at it is that the construction should cost the labor plus the materials, right? And then a little bit of a markup. And when you say like something is $40,000 and it involves 12,000 concrete somebody yard, so you have a pump truck and then the concrete is delivered by the yard. I get all the sheets. I see how much it costs. It's like I forget, it's like $850 per truck. And I think I had like 15 trucks or 13 trucks. I think 15 trucks, 18 trucks, 180 yards. So I was at like $15,000 in concrete costs. These guys bring the same molds. Now, you have to factor in if somebody has custom equipment, right? There's a value to that. If I have it, you go to a doctor and they have a $3 million MRI machine. It costs money. They got to amortize that.
Mhm.
There weren't really any specialty tools when it comes to setting up for the concrete floor. It's frames that they take off of one job, drive some pins
Yeah.
in, completely reusable. The guy buys $10,000 in framing stuff, and he's got a couple of guys. And I counted how many guys. Like, all right, he's got 3 guys for 3 days. You do the math, maybe just be generous and say the guy's getting $25, $30 an hour to set the stuff up. So it's costing him $1,000 a day. Figure they were there for 6 days total. So his labor expense is $6,000. His expense for the actual concrete was just like $15,000. So it cost him 21 grand. He charged me 43. So he made $20,000. Hey, are you allowed to make $20,000? Absolutely. Would he have happily made $10,000 or $12,000? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is all stuff that I learned, and I'm translating to people for confidence going forward, and how to build, how to find people, what the best way to do it. Because like Angie's List, like I didn't get all these like Angie's List or any of these websites to go like find a contractor. They all suck. Nobody wants to deal with them. It's probably such a low value lead that people just throw big numbers, and if somebody says yes, then they do it. Yeah,
Like, oh, sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're going big game fishing at that point in time. You
Yeah.
just throw in a big hook in the water, and if the hole bends in half, you're like, all right, let's do it. Ryan, what are you doing?
Getting my trucks.
They're all on the ground, buddy. All right, get out of here.
So bottom line, build your house.
No, I mean, don't be afraid to build your house, because not everybody. Like I'm good at managing people. I'm good at like understanding what's going on. If you're somebody who can't understand why your car shifts gears, don't GC your house, right? If you can't, I watch this and I'm like, okay, all right, I see what's involved here. If you can't handle that, then
To
you shouldn't
understand the
GC.
process and the steps, basically.
But you should understand how much of a markup there is in the housing. And even if you want to beat up the GC and be like, look, I watched this guy's series, I know what the real number should be. And you go to Google, like I would always go to Google, like how much does it cost for concrete per yard? Like, it's $650 per yard,
Yeah.
or per 10 yards, whatever it was. And you can do that, and it makes it easier. Whether it's true, whether you're in a place like New York where it's a little bit more expensive or not, you can adjust it. But if you look it up online and it says the cost should be $3,000, everyone's quoting you $15,000, something's wrong. So that you'll see. That brings me to another thing. Do you know what else my lovely co-host does? Does real estate.
I'm a real estate agent.
She's a real estate agent in North Jersey and soon to be New York. So if you need any real estate rentals, buying,
Buy, sell, rent,
buy,
and
sell, or
not
even
even just
invest.
investments. Not even just in New Jersey or New York. Because I'm a real estate agent, I'm connected to a network of real estate agents all over the country. So if you're looking to go anywhere, it's easy for me to refer you to somebody that's trustworthy and that will work for you and get you the best deals. So
yeah,
anywhere, guys.
And
Real
that's
estate
how
anywhere.
she pays the bills. My goal is to get her a cooler car. There's a Mustang now.
Yeah, I need something.
And I want her to
Something
get
fun.
something cooler and fun that she can take on adventure drives coming into the year. So we're working on that. That's where you guys come in. So you support her, and we'll get her driving cool stuff and having fun with us. So what else do you have? I know you had a list of stuff you wanted to cover. I'm totally manipulating this this podcast. I'm going to let you speak a little bit more. Let me ask you some more questions that guys want to know. So I just mentioned your Mustang. You have a car very similar to my first car. You want to tell me about it?
I have a 2008 Mustang. It's
Give the negatives. You know what
no,
it is.
I don't want to give the negatives.
It's a
It's a
V6,
V6,
and it's
and I'm signing off.
So I mean,
No, but listen, Rob is a bargain guy, like big on value. I bought this car for $3,000, and it had 23,000 miles on it. It had nothing on it, and it's so cheap. It was so worth it. I bought it when I was 15. I thought I was hot shit. I was like, this is the best thing ever. I bought a car before I could even legally drive.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. And I worked on it for like that year and a half until I was able to drive it, and it sat at the shop, and me and my dad just kind of like did like little things, painting things here and there, new wheels, just basic stuff that like a 15, 16-year-old could like afford.
Sure. And as I said, very similar to my first car was a V6 automatic Camaro. So I saw the value there. I ended up buying it new, and it was, I've mentioned this before, how stupid it was. Because at the time, it was a 2000, or whatever, 99, I think, 2000, 2001. There was a 99, definitely 99.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in, and I was in the showroom, and I'm like, oh, the Corvette is cool, but it's $45,000. This is like $23,000. It says the Corvette does 0 to 60 in like 4.8 seconds. This does 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. It's half a second. That's like this. They're like the same. So this one only goes 0 to 60 in half a second. That's, to me, it's like a half a car length.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why am I going to get that Corvette when I can buy this V6 automatic T-top Camaro for half the price?
Yeah.
You know, and then,
Now you know why.
Now you know.
Now you...
And life is a learning process, and I learned.
Yeah.
So
It's okay. It's all about like what you can afford. at the
yeah,
time.
it's what you can afford.
Their first cars. Like,
No, my first car was an '88
Oh.
Bonneville. This is
geez.
the first car
This
that
is
I
the other-
bought. No, my parents gave me the
Okay.
Bonneville.
so it's your first purchase.
The Bonneville, my dad drove it for 10 years and gave it to me, which doesn't sound like a lot. Oh, he drove it for 10 years. 10 years. Most people keep cars for 3.
Yeah,
So
I had my car for a while. It's time for an upgrade.
yeah. So
I just-
we're gonna. What car would we be wanting? I would say something stick shift.
I want a Porsche. If I could get any car, we talked about I
Yeah.
would want a GT3.
I know, but they don't know what we talk about.
Oh.
So yes,
Well, we talked about
this
it before
yesterday.
live.
Did we? No,
Yes.
So yeah, we were talking about getting her a 997 Carrera. Ooh, she doesn't want a convertible.
No, I
She's
just
got
don't
hair.
want a convertible. It's not bad.
The hair or the
No,
convertible?
it's just a convertible.
I enjoy convertibles.
I don't
Like
like
I've
the
had coupes,
convertible.
but then I get behind the wheel of like a Ferrari convertible and like
I'm not.
outside. Like I'll remember like certain days, like driving into Napa as the sun's going down and everything like that in the car. And be like, this is
The
awesome.
only like quote convertible that I like is the Corvette's how the top comes. Like all
It's a
like
target
that.
top.
Yeah, it's
So
not.
that's
It's not
a
necessarily
compromise.
convertible.
Like the NSX, it could be a hard top or it could be a convertible.
It's-
It could be a Target if you want
Yeah,
it.
it's
It's
hard.
super, another great.
No.
Those are like super expensive though.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna purchase one of them.
It would be nice, like just add it
I
to
wouldn't
your
need
list.
that car. It's like one of those cars that's just like it would be cool to have it, but not something that I'm really dying to get.
Got it.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, speaking of dying to get something, we're dying to put out the final episode of Sorted. That's been dragging on for
Soon.
a while. I like had I known that the editor was going to be this difficult, like I would have held the series and released it now. Like I wouldn't have even released it when I did because
People
having
want to see the episodes.
yeah
you know, that come
having the
out.
upload that's sort of consistent, and I'm talking like even if it was one a week, I would have done it. This guy told me he was going to do 2 a week. Pumped out the first episode. He was good. Like he was more motivated early on. And he's just killing me. Now it's like 2 weeks. It was 1 week between episodes, then 2 weeks between episodes. Now he's had this final episode for almost
At
a month.
yeah.
And I mean, it's tough. So bear with us. I've seen a draft. It was like 47 minutes long. We'll chop it down maybe by 10 minutes. Maybe we'll split it into 2 episodes. But it's good.
It's coming your way soon.
Yeah, the finale. We had a good time down in Miami for the finale with Nathan Sissio's car, the Porsche. And then some other surprises along the way. But our benchmark car for Florida ended up being a 918 hypercar, like Nürburgring record car. Like that is setting the benchmark high. Especially, what's up, dude?
I'm trying to talk what you're talking.
Oh, you're just trying to talk over our voices like we're Japanese.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, Tiara's Japanese.
I am. I'm part Japanese.
Part
I'm Japanese, Italian, Dutch. So
Yes. Interesting combination.
I like it.
Think about where the Dutch come from, and then where Italy is, and then how far
It's like
Japan
a
is
world
from
war.
both of those.
that's what I am.
Yeah, no, you're
Like,
totally like a. But what world war though? World war that would mean you're much older because that would mean you were conceived during. So you'd be my grandfather, which is
The
weird.
Asians don't age.
Yeah, I
You
know,
never
it's
heard that? Come on.
84. So she's just waiting a long time to get a full car. But yeah, no, so good times. They just released, and I haven't seen it yet. I was about to look it up. Somebody asked in the comments there about the GT2, the 991 GT2. 992 GT2. You know, I'm all twisted. 992 GT3, yes, which just came out today, and it is sexy. Oh, that's all sorts of sexy. I'm gonna buy one of those. Yeah.
I think I saw one picture of it floating around on Instagram, but I didn't really look into it.
It's not the best, but still looks good. I like the little hood.
The hood, it looks like SVJ did that. Lamborghini.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure it's a great naturally aspirated car. I'm super excited for it, and I'm gonna buy one. The whole premise of me building my own house, that I'd be able to afford a car like that, and I wouldn't feel guilty about buying it because it would sort of be me saving that money. And by saving that money, I could justify buying more cars. But I still have to build a place to keep my cars.
Yeah, you still have to do the
I have an
garage.
old crappy garage on my property, and I'd like to build a better garage. The process for me getting approved here was not easy. And
Did you end up getting approved though?
so I didn't even put forth the garage on my second application because they voted me down on the first one.
I see.
And then I was up against a statute called res judicata, which is you can't submit the same application multiple times. So
In like a time frame or like ever?
no, essentially they don't want to waste everybody's time. If you're like, all right, I changed the color of the shutters, I'm reapplying. Now you're arguing over the same stuff, trying to get a different result. So I'll have to separate. And a long story on that, but I'll separate the garage. I just wanted to look, I got to build my house, guys, because I need a place to live. And I bought this property, and you're effectively telling me that I can't build on it because you don't like my garage, you don't like me, whatever the case may be.
This is the town or this is your neighbor?
No, I'm not talking about neighbors, I'm talking about the town.
Oh.
So, and it's not the town, it's the town planning board, which is made up of a collective group of elected peers or appointed peers, so other townsfolk that make up the planning board and everything like that. So we went through that process, and I got approved on my second application to build my house, and now we have a lovely place to hang out, socialize, eat, drink. There's a
And film podcast.
There's a steam room over there. There's a sauna over here. I've got a nice gym. I just this is my basement. My wife said you can do the basement, which if you think about how condescending that is, I'm going to take care of the house. You can do the basement. Basement's the best part of the house.
It is.
It really is. Everybody that comes in the basement's like, can I take pictures of this?
Everyone
Because nobody's going to believe me, and it's going to be very cool. So starting on Thursday, we'll get the rest of the glass in here. I got to let those guys know. They're going to stain the steps now tomorrow. So maybe I'll see if I can get the guys in here tomorrow to do the glass. So
How was your paint on the stairs? How was that?
It's
The white
drying. Oh, it got ugly. So the steps, they were staining the steps and then painting the back of the steps and the side of the steps. So it was going to be a dark tread that matches the floor, the stain, and then paint on the other visible parts. Problem is, dude, I don't know when he did, he had a stroke. He decided to dump a bucket of white paint over his head, but he had a paint explosion. And it got so ugly.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it got, I'm going to show
Did that paint, they have to re-sand that now?
They had to strip the steps
Oh.
down. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm going to sort of find some new to show people on the camera.
Okay. It's bad. It just, basically a bucket of paint at the top of the stairs just went tumbling down.
And then when you try to clean it up, you get that.
It just smears around and
Yeah.
dries.
So that
Awful.
was pretty ugly. How much time do we have?
I have to leave in 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So anyway, so we're getting that taken care of. I'm gonna move into the house later this week. I got my temporary certificate of occupancy because the electric is good, the plumbing is good, the fire detector, smoke detectors, all that stuff is up and working. I've got bathrooms, I've got all sorts of stuff. So the fact that this is pretty much the first room done is what it is. But that's just because I was.
This is where your focus was.
My focus was definitely let's
Yeah.
get some whiskey going on. But thank you guys for joining. Sorry that the actual podcast is a little bit shorter than the live. that took place on the Super Speeders Podcast YouTube channel. You can follow Tiara Brianna,
Tiara.Brianna
Tiara.Brianna on
on Instagram.
She doesn't have a YouTube channel or anything like that. If you want to reach out to her for real estate, I'm going to put all her contact info, except her cell phone number, creeps. I'm going to put her contact info in the bottom there. And don't waste your time if you're just calling to talk about real estate because you want to hang out with her and ask her out. There's probably better ways to do that.
Just
But
DM
if you
me.
want to come, send her a message on Instagram. If you want to use her for real estate, come on adventure drives, or even submit your car for Sorted. Check out sortedornot.com. Watch that series if you haven't seen it yet. It's great. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for joining
Thank
me.
you so much.
I think she knocked it out of the
Yes.
park. Maybe next time she can do some more talking and I'll shut up for a little bit.
Put something together.
We'll put something together. But thank you guys for joining us. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for Whistle Pig, which is generally what I'm drinking while we're podcasting. But not today, it's a little early and I have things to do and
Next
I have
time.
driving to do. So thank you for joining me. I'm glad to be back and I'm happy to have a phenomenal place in which to broadcast to the rest of the world. So we've got a couple things to say and hopefully you guys enjoy listening.
Thank you.
Let's go.
What do you want to talk about, Dave?
Good job on that.
Thank you.
Here you go, Dad.
Oh, thank
Here
you.
you
Fruit
go.
snack.